The night before it all went down, the lake behind my house whispered like it always did, soft ripples under a fading moon. That lake was my peace, my backyard sanctuary, and apparently, according to the Homeowners Association, my crime. 3 weeks earlier, I'd found a thick envelope taped to my front door. Violation notice. Excessive water ownership. I'd read the words 3 times, convinced I was misreading. But no, HOA President Lydia Caro, a woman with a permanent smirk and a habit of wearing pearls even to mow her lawn, had decided my private lake somehow counted as excessive water. The letter demanded a fine of $10,000. $10,000 for owning the same lake that had been on my property deed for 20 years. At first I laughed, then I called the HOA office and got only Lydia's voicemail, her clipped accent announcing the rules with glee. I left a polite message. No response. The next day, a second notice arrived. A final warning. I knocked on Lydia's door. She opened it with that smug look I'd grown to despise. "Lydia," I said carefully, "the lake is on my property. It's literally a natural body of water. You can't fine me for rain that collects there." Her eyes flicked over my worn work jacket like it offended her. "Excess water poses communal risks," she said. "Mosquitoes. Flooding. We have a duty to protect the neighborhood's aesthetic." Aesthetic? I barked out a bitter laugh. "This is extortion. Rules are rules," she replied, and closed the door. I could have lawyered up, but I knew the HOA's games, dragged me through months of hearings while fees ballooned. Meanwhile, Lydia's annual, Summer Blossom Gala, was coming up, a garden party so over the top it made the local paper every year. It was her stage, her ego on full display with champagne fountains and imported orchids. And right behind her immaculate yard sat my dam. Most people didn't even realize the lake was controlled. My grandfather had built a small but sturdy dam decades ago to manage water levels. A heavy steel gate, rarely touched except for maintenance, kept the lake at a steady, tranquil height. But if someone were to open that gate after a week of heavy rain, the sudden surge could redecorate a landscape. I told myself I wouldn't stoop to revenge. I told myself for days. Then Lydia sent a third letter, this one hand-delivered, taped to my car windshield, with a note scrawled in red ink, "Pay or be leaned." That night, I stood at the edge of the dam under a bruised sky. The rain had been relentless all week, the lake was full to the brim. I ran my fingers along the cold steel wheel that controlled the sluice. My grandfather's voice echoed in memory, "Respect the water. Use it wisely." I wasn't planning destruction, just correction. The evening of Lydia's party arrived with perfect, terrible timing. From my back porch I watched white tents bloom across her lawn like giant lilies. Guests in pastel suits sipped wine under strings of fairy lights. I heard the music drift across the water, laughter like a taunt. I waited until the band struck up its second set. The path to the dam was slick, the air thick with the smell of rain and pine. My heart pounded, a drumbeat in my throat. One twist of the wheel. That's all. The gate groaned like an old beast awakening. Water surged forward, a deep, rushing growl that vibrated through my bones. I hurried back as the flood began its silent sprint down the narrow channel that fed directly toward Lydia's perfectly terraced lawn. From my porch I saw it, a dark, glistening sheet advancing through the night, invisible to the revelers until the first wave lapped at the edge of her rose beds. A woman screamed. Lights flicked on and off in a staccato panic. Guests scrambled as water gushed across the manicured grass, soaking linen shoes and toppling the champagne tower. Tables bobbed like flimsy rafts. The string quartet faltered, their music drowned by a roaring crescendo. Lydia herself stood frozen, pearls catching the floodlight, her perfect hair plastered to her face. She shouted something, probably my name, but the water swallowed her words. I stayed in the shadows, equal parts exhilarated and terrified. It wasn't just a petty thrill, it was justice. My lake, my water, reclaiming what was never hers to dictate. By the time the fire department arrived, the garden was a muddy lagoon. Cars parked along the street were half submerged. And Lydia, furious, drenched, waded through knee-deep water barking orders like a captain of a sinking ship. The next morning the neighborhood buzzed with rumors. Freak flash flood, some said. Broken water main, others guessed. Lydia, of course, pointed her manicured finger at me. 2 HOA board members visited my porch at noon. "Do you know anything about the incident?" one asked, eyes shifty. I sipped my coffee. "Terrible storm last night," I said, all innocence. "Mother Nature sure is unpredictable." They left unconvinced but powerless. There was no proof. No camera on the dam, just a sudden release of water after days of rain, a natural occurrence, anyone could argue. 2 weeks later, I received another envelope from the HOA. Bracing for more fines, I opened it to find nothing. Just a terse note: violation dismissed. Case closed. Lydia's grand party had turned into a viral spectacle. Neighbors' cell phone videos of guests fleeing the garden tsunami spread across social media. Sponsors pulled out of her upcoming charity events. The HOA quietly voted her out as president. The lake, meanwhile, settled back into its gentle rhythm, as if nothing had happened. Sometimes I stand at the dam at dusk, listening to the soft murmur of the water. Justice doesn't always roar, sometimes it flows, steady and sure. I didn't own too much water. I simply knew how to let it speak.